welcome. You're watching the Newshour Agenda. I'm Padmaja Joshi. It's been 5 days since the foundation of the Ram Temple was laid in Ayodhya. And now we are going to tell you how this process of the Bhumi Pujan that was done as per the law after getting an all clear from the Supreme Court is now being used in order to spread hatred in the country. An effort to divide India. Across the country, people are receiving mysterious calls asking them to not allow the Prime Minister to hoist the tricolour on Independence Day. The construction of the Ram Temple, according to this phone call, is the first step towards building a Hindu Rashtra, and Indian Muslims are urged to rise up against the government. First, I want you to listen in to this chilling audio that Times Now has accessed.
को हिंदू राष्ट्र बनाने की शुरुआत है। मेरी तमाम मुसलमान बहन भाइयों से अपील है कि आइए हम सब मिलकर 15 अगस्त को नरेंद्र मोदी को हिंदुस्तानी परचम लहराने से रोकें। हमें सिख बहन भाइयों से सबक सीखना चाहिए जो अपनी आज़ादी और अलग मुल्क खालिस्तान के क़याम के लिए रेफरेंडम 2020 कर रहे हैं। हमें भी हिंदुस्तान से मुसलमानों के लिए अलग मुल्क उर्दिस्तान बनाने के लिए काम करना चाहिए। अल्लाह हाफिज।
And it doesn't end there. An activist, a so-called activist, decided to advocate for Muslim reservation in India, or at the very least a separate electorate, because apparently this Hindu Rashtra will not be granting any rights to Muslims. The Imam Association in West Bengal declared that the very act of the Prime Minister going to Ayodhya showed that India had turned into a bigoted country, a sentiment that was even echoed by TMC MLA, Trinamool Congress MLA, Siddiqullah Chaudhary.
हमारे मुल्क के प्राइम मिनिस्टर जी 130 करोड़ लोगों का ख्याल नहीं रखा। उन्होंने ख्याल रखा आरएसएस कैडर का, विश्व हिंदू परिषद का, बजरंग दल का, हिंदुइज्म का, हिंदुत्व का ख्याल रखा। मुल्क के सेकुलर कैरेक्टर का ख्याल उन्होंने नहीं रखा। अगर वो रखते इस भूमि पूजन में वो कभी जाते नहीं है। इसलिए मुल्क के लिए ये दिन बिल्कुल काला दिन है जिस दिन भूमि पूजन हुआ है।
Which is what makes us ask if these people that you heard are the anti-India forces who tried earlier to divide the country through the anti-CAA protests. They failed and have now latched on to the Ram Janmabhoomi issue to tear India apart. Has all pretense finally been dropped? Phone calls are being made asking Indian Muslims to carry out an uprising on Independence Day. And what does one make of so-called activists who are saying in the mainstream what some Break India forces were saying so far, only in a masked fashion?
The News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining us in the debate, Jeevel Narasimha Rao, Member of Parliament, National Spokesperson of the BJP, Editor of The Organizer, Praful Ketkar, Political Analyst Tausifur Rahman, Dr. Tasleem Ahmed Rehmani, President of the Muslim Political Council of India, and Political Analyst Vivek Srivastav. Dr. Rehmani, I want to ask you first, what do you make? Imagine if we have at least spoken to 50 people who've got this phone call saying, Modi ko is baar Bharat ka parcham Lal Kile par mat lehrane dena. What is this supposed to mean? Imagine the number of people this has gone out to. And using the Ram Temple as an excuse. Dr. Rehmani.
No, I don't think, and I don't agree with any such movement by anybody within the country or outside the country, nor I do agree with the concept of separate electorate, etc., etc. Narendra Modi ji is a Prime Minister of the country, duly elected Prime Minister, and Independence Day is the most auspicious occasion for we, the Indian people. We cannot do anything which goes against our national sentiments. So I don't agree, but certainly I disagree with the Prime Minister and his party, his ruling party, about the movement he carried out about the Ram Mandir and whatever he did in the Shilanyas on 5th of August. We do oppose it. We will keep on opposing it.
Why?
We will keep on maintaining that the Mandir has
So
been,
basically you're
is being
saying
built
you will
on
not
the
agree with the
of
sentiment
Babri
that you
Masjid.
should rise against the country, but you still think that what the Prime Minister did shows him as a bigot.
Whatever the Prime Minister did was against the popular sentiments of the people of the country.
Whose
That's why
sentiment?
we oppose him, but that doesn't mean that
Whose
it
sentiment?
doesn't render the Prime Minister to represent the country on the ramparts of Lal Killa.
Sir,
that doesn't mean he must
which
go.
is this
Why not?
popular sentiment you talk
I
about?
said that is the most auspicious occasion for our independence.
Which is this popular sentiment you're talking about? Whose sentiment do you
No,
represent?
what is the popular sentiment? Popular sentiment
The popular
is not that the
sentiment
Prime
is that
Minister
whatever
cannot
has
go.
been allowed by the court should be done.
That should be done. But how it has been allowed, that has to be seen. This is
By
not the
popular
popular sentiment that the Babri
I'm sorry.
must be demolished.
Is popular
If it not
sentiment
by the
a
Supreme Court of
euphemism
India,
here for
the
your
Supreme Court has
sentiment?
also admitted that it was a mosque which has been demolished by a criminal act.
Let's just cut to the chase
This
here,
is the
Mr.
popular
Rehmani, and stop
sentiment
beating
that a
around the
mosque has
bush.
been,
This term that you use,
rather the
popular sentiment,
is a mosque has
it
been
is
demolished
basically
by a
your
criminal act.
sentiment. Please don't call it popular sentiment. You do not stand for popular sentiment. You stand for
No, this
your
is not-
sentiment.
This is the popular sentiment. I'm sorry to say that you are not going to the social media sites and you watch the popular sentiment. It
Sir,
is the sentiment that there
I
was a
frankly
mosque
do
which
not
has been
think
demolished
social
by a
media-
criminal
social
act
media
and
represents
that
life.
must have to be compensated.
Mr.
And the
Rehmani,
Prime Minister must have admitted it.
if you want to talk about
Prime Minister
popular
must have
sentiment,
admitted it
you are
in
going by
Ayodhya.
social media. I was in Ayodhya. So I spoke to actual human beings, not social media bots. And I can tell you a thing or two about the sentiment there.
Ayodhya is not
but
the
let's
whole
not
country.
let's not go into that. I roamed around all of Faizabad and Ayodhya, but let's
Ayodhya
leave
is
that
is
behind.
just a
You're
small
talking
city.
about popular sentiment from social media. I am telling you sentiment that I heard from the mouths of actual human beings. But let's not talk about that. Let me ask you this, Vivek Srivastav.
No.
That is
Ayodhya.
That is somebody is calling up Indian Muslims and saying कि
Ayodhya is not
Independence
India.
Day के दिन you should
Ayodhya
have an
doesn't represent
uprising.
India.
Ayodhya is not India, but Ayodhya is also India. Ayodhya is also India.
Yes.
You cannot say that just
Yes, it is
because
also
their
India, but
sentiment
आप ये
is
नहीं कह सकते
pro-temple,
अगर अयोध्या
they
में
do
कुछ
not
लोग-
count. Arey, Mr. Rehmani is popular
don't say
sentiment,
that-
but
that-
100 people of Ayodhya are not India. Why, bhai? Who decides what is popular sentiment? You three gentlemen are
100
popular
people of
sentiment.
Ayodhya are
100
India,
people in
they are part of
Ayodhya
India,
are nobodies.
but they
I
don't
gave you an
represent the
example.
nation.
I gave you
The nation is
example.
too big.
You see.
Anyway, I don't want to get into a slanging match with you. I don't want to get into a slanging match with you. I'll ask you a very simple question.
Okay.
Vivek Srivastav, at least Mr. Rehmani has been sensible and said
Yes,
that
yes,
this
yes.
kind of
Yes,
disgusting venom that is being spread
Yes.
using the temple as an excuse is
Yes.
deplorable.
Yes.
Do you agree that this is deplorable?
Yes.
To call up Indian Muslims and say कि मोदी को
See, first of
झंडा
all-
मत लहराने देना इस बार इंडिपेंडेंस डे में. We must rise against India.
Okay.
This is deplorable.
Yes. First of all, Mr. Rehmani has been on the dot. The Muslims of this nation who decided to stay in India after 1947 are patriotic. They love the nation. They decided to live with the Hindu majority.
Nobody needs your certificate.
Okay, so there is no
Obviously
question.
they are.
Let me
Obviously
speak,
they are.
let me
Why are
speak.
you stating the
Can I
obvious?
speak?
Why
Can
are
I
you
speak?
stating the obvious?
Can I speak?
I am talking about
Yeah,
these
fine. Let me
Break
speak.
India forces.
Yes, because you are not showing the obvious.
I am telling you the obvious.
The obvious is these phone calls are being done. Can I speak? Or you
Yes.
speak?
Yes.
आप ही बोल लीजिए मेरे behalf पे फिर.
Who's
The
doing
fact
these phone
is,
calls?
these phone calls are being made at the behest. The BJP is doing it to show the Muslims in a bad light because polarization takes place. And
That must have to be
you show the
investigated. Yes.
Muslims in a bad light and try to polarize the Hindu votes. This is the game.
Mr. Srivastava, I'm
They do
so
it time and
shocked
again.
that you are blaming the BJP. I mean, this was
इतनी बड़ी
completely
आबादी इस देश में
unexpected.
रह रही है.
I never expected that you will blame the BJP for making these
fine,
phone calls.
but this is what is the truth.
You know, this is like totally come from the blue.
Absolutely, BJP does it.
Chalo, GVL Narasimha Rao, by
I tell
evening you sit here
Yogi
on TV
Adityanath
debates.
and no,
By afternoon you record these phone calls and you send them out.
Owaisi are both twins.
Padmaja.
ये जुड़वा हैं.
Why even blame the
And
BJP?
both of them
Vivek
are
Srivastava, you
responsible
should
for
say
dividing the
that.
nation.
Why even blame
One
the
for
BJP?
Hindu
You should say
polarization
GVL Narasimha
and the
Rao
other for the
personally
Muslim
in his house
polarization.
recorded these
They are
messages
both
and
the
sent
same,
them
both
out.
are criminal.
Maybe it's Mr. Rao himself
No,
and
Padmaja,
Praful Ketkar who are
Padmaja.
recording these messages.
See, Padmaja, this is a very serious channel and a very serious debate, and we should not turn this into comedy circus. Okay, so if there are people who are making such calls, I think it's nothing short of sedition, and I'm happy Mr. Rehmani also unequivocally condemned that. And anybody who is, I think it's certainly for the agencies to investigate who are the people who are making these calls. And I don't think you disclosed the name of the person who was making these calls, although you played this tape. So I think the agencies should certainly identify the source of these people, identify them and book them for sedition.
They
Nothing
have
short
been.
of sedition.
In Delhi, actually, a case has been registered for sedition.
your
But the
duty.
point
That
is,
your duty,
who
Mr.
is behind
Narasimhan.
these calls?
That you have to investigate that who are these
It
people.
is being
Who are
investigated,
these
sir.
people? You have to identify
It is being
because you are in the
investigated, and
government.
very soon
Mr.
these people should be
Rehmani,
unmasked
you are
also.
Rehmani.
It's certainly people who cannot, I think, see this country progress. These are anti-national elements. And they need to be identified, booked for sedition and prosecuted for it. You see, the average, you see, when you talk of Mr. Rehmani,
Yes,
when
but
you
where is
talk
the
about
progress?
the
But where is
average
the progress?
sentiment,
Which
you talk
progress?
about the public larger
Which
national
progress?
mood. The larger national mood today is that a century
Negative manufacturing, zero agricultural rate of growth.
has been brought to
Which
a closure.
progress?
Okay, let's not heckle, please. Mr. Srivastava, now you're just heckling.
I did not interject you.
Yes,
please
go
don't
on.
speak. Okay, the larger public mood in this country, entire country, is that justice has been done to something that was pending in the court for 7 decades.
Seats did the BJP
There is a larger
give the
public
Muslims in
sentiment
the Lok Sabha
No,
elections?
that we
This
have
is
How
your
many
own-
seats did the BJP
This is
give the
your own
Muslims?
assumption.
Please,
This is highly an assumptive kind of a thing. I do not agree
I
you.
know, Rehmani, please,
I do not
I
agree
did
you.
not-
Vivek
I
do
did
not
not
agree you.
interject.
This is not the popular
I allow you
sentiment.
to speak.
This
Please
is
let
not
me
the popular
complete.
sentiment.
Please
That's
let
a
me
bit.
complete.
that
Okay, you
are
know,
trying to
Mr. Rehmani,
fabricate
Mr.
that kind of
Rehmani,
a
I think
sentiment.
we
This is
must
not the
really
true
get out of that
sentiment of the
mindset
country. I tell you, go
where
to
people
get a
become
referendum
so
about Ram
obsessed
Temple.
and
You
they
get a
live in such an
referendum, I
echo
tell you.
chamber that they think I am the popular sentiment. How can you sit here and say, I don't agree with you, this is not the popular sentiment? Sir, maybe you are out with the popular sentiment. Maybe your sentiment is the unpopular one. But the more worrying thing is, and that's what I want to ask Praful Ketkar, that, you know, you have some of these vandals, these miscreants who are going to make anonymous phone calls. And then on the other hand, you are going to have people who are very well known, so-called activists, the former head of Amnesty in India, who come out so openly and says there should be a separate Muslim electorate because Jinnah was right, and it's only when we'll have Muslim reservation, Muslim electorate, that India will redeem itself. Otherwise, it's a Hindu Rashtra. So what anonymous trolls are doing is being done by mainstream people
You cannot claim
in the name of activism.
Absolutely. Padmaja, this was always the case.
in Ayodhya.
Whether in the pre-independence period, when the idea of Pakistan was mooted, or when actually system was built up around the Ram temple, even in the late 1980s, a similar kind of distortionists who claim as activists, intellectuals and academicians on the one hand, and fundamentalists on the other hand. Thomas Flint never had questioned ever about, the sanctity of Ayodhya and the Ram Bhumi. The communist intellectuals and academicians always taught them these theories. And in the pre-independence period for partition, and now also, people like, CPI representative who doesn't have, national credibility of 1%, and who give them so much of space and they claim themselves to be the, popular sentiment. The same is about Mr. Rehmani. Mr. Rehmani will issue always, he will give constitutional sermon, he will talk about, but he will speak on PFI forum, he will talk about against India.
You don't approve the constitutional sermon. You don't like to listen the constitutional sermon. Because you don't approve the Constitution of India. Because you always work against the Constitution of India.
And by the way, the left front today, CPI, CPM, Forward Bloc and CPIML, they also released a statement today and said that on this Independence Day, let's reclaim secular India. Let's reclaim secular India because the government is targeting Muslim minorities. Vivek Srivastava.
Yes, we stand by the statement. I stand by the statement. Let me speak now. Can I speak? Yeah, listen to me now.
So earlier, according to you, the government was targeting through CAA. Now the latest peg to hang your own politics on is the Ram Mandir. Your CAA protest has flopped. So now you are going to look for a new excuse, and the new excuse is, chaliye, let's pile on to the Ram Mandir bandwagon.
Listen to me.
Deal with the gold smuggling case.
Good. Now, सबसे पहली बात है, अरे भैया बोलने दो. Listen to me now. Marxism is very clear about its stand on religion, that the religion is the opium of the masses, and therefore religion should be kept out of the social and political life. आप अपने घर में पूजा करिए, नमाज करिए, जो मर्जी करिए, धर्म की राजनीति मत करिए. The Prime Minister is communal. The Prime Minister went to Ayodhya. The Prime Minister went over there to show that he stands with the majority community.
No, so just a second. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Sachin Pilot is speaking right now. Let's cut across.
वेणुगोपाल जी ने बोला पिछले कुछ समय से हमारे कुछ साथी विधायक दिल्ली में आए हुए थे और हम लोगों के सरकार के और संगठन के कई सारे ऐसे मुद्दे थे जिसको हम रेखांकित करना चाहते थे और मैंने जो इशू उठाया था, चाहे वो देशद्रोह का मुकदमा एसओजी वाला हो या हमें काम करने का जो तरीका था उसमें जो आपत्तियां थी, उन सब के बारे में हमने बताया और मैंने शुरू से इस बात को कहा कि जो मुद्दे हैं वो सैद्धांतिक हैं और मुझे लगता था कि पार्टी के हित में उन बातों को उठाना बहुत ज़रूरी था. अपनी बात हम लोगों ने रखी. इस पूरे प्रकरण के दौरान बहुत सी बातें कही गई, चलाई गई और बहुत कुछ मुझे भी सुनने को मिला. व्यक्तिगत रूप से कुछ ऐसी बातें बोली गई जो मैं समझता हूँ मुझे भी आश्चर्य उन बातों पर हुआ, लेकिन मुझे लगा कि संयम और विनम्रता हमेशा बनाए रखनी चाहिए. राजनीति में व्यक्तिगत दुर्भावना की कोई जगह नहीं है. हम लोगों ने, सभी लोगों ने मिलकर 5 साल तक मेहनत कर राजस्थान में कांग्रेस की सरकार बनाई थी और उस सरकार में हम सब भागीदार हैं. लेकिन जब मुझे लगा कि इन बातों में जहाँ पर मुझे आपत्तियाँ थीं या जहाँ पर मुझे लगा कि अपनी बात रखना बहुत ज़रूरी है, तो कांग्रेस के समक्ष मैंने उस बात को रखा. मुझे खुशी है कि कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष ने, पूर्व अध्यक्ष राहुल गांधी जी ने, प्रियंका जी ने, हम सब ने विस्तार से आज चर्चा करी और हमारे जो साथी विधायक हैं उन सब की बातों को, उन सब के कंसर्न्स को हमने प्लेटफॉर्म पर रखा है और मुझे आश्वासित भी किया गया है. मैं धन्यवाद देता हूं इस बात का कि ये 3 सदस्य कमेटी बनकर बहुत जल्द उन तमाम मुद्दों का निराकरण करेंगे जो मुद्दे हम लोगों ने उठाए हैं. मैं फिर कहना चाहता हूँ, सैद्धांतिक मुद्दे थे, गवर्नेंस के इश्यूज से जो मैं चाहता था एड्रेस हों ताकि पार्टी और सरकार उन वादों पर खरा उतर सके जिन वादों को कर हम सत्ता में आए थे. और पार्टी पद देती है, पार्टी पद ले भी सकती है. मुझे पद की बहुत लालसा नहीं है, लेकिन मैं चाहता था जो मान सम्मान स्वाभिमान की बात हम लोगों ने करी थी वो बनी रहे. राजनीति में आज 18-20 साल से मैंने जो योगदान दिया है व्यक्तिगत रूप से पार्टी के प्रति, पार्टी भी बात को जानती है और हमने हमेशा कोशिश करी है कि जिन लोगों ने मेहनत कर इस सरकार का निर्माण किया है उन लोगों की हिस्सेदारी, भागीदारी सुनिश्चित की जाए. मुझे खुशी है कि कांग्रेस अध्यक्षा जी ने आज जो कमेटी का गठन किया है और ये बात भी जैसे वेणुगोपाल जी ने कहा कि समयबद्ध तरीके से इन सब बातों को सुनकर इसका अच्छा निराकरण किया जाएगा. मैं समझता हूँ ये एक स्वागत योग्य कदम है. इसके लिए मैं कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष का धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ.
जो आपके साथियों ने आपके बारे में बातें कही, जो व्यक्तिगत हमले किए और जो ये कहा कि बीजेपी के हाथों खेल रहे हैं आप.
देखिए, ऐसा है, आज से 1.5 साल पहले जब हम चुनाव जीत कर आए थे उस समय हमने कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष को ये निर्णय दिया था देने के लिए कि कांग्रेस का मुख्यमंत्री कौन बनेगा. उस समय अशोक गहलोत जी को मुख्यमंत्री बनाया गया और मुझे उप मुख्यमंत्री बनने की जिम्मेदारी दी गई थी और हमने लगातार काम किया और मुझे लगा कि इन 1.5 साल में जो मेरा अनुभव रहा वो मैं कांग्रेस का आला कमान तक लेकर जाऊं और मैंने सारी बातें कही हैं वो आज मैं इस प्रेस या मीडिया के माध्यम से बोलना नहीं चाहता हूं, लेकिन वो सारी बातें मैंने बताई हैं और मुझे लगता है कि समस्या का समाधान होगा क्योंकि जो सरकार ने और पार्टी ने वादे किए हैं वो निभाने बहुत ज़रूरी हैं। और मैंने कभी भी सुन लीजिए, हमने कभी भी इस प्रकार की भावना या भाषा या आचरण का उपयोग नहीं किया जो हमारे योग्य नहीं है और मैं आज भी इस बात पर कायम हूँ कि हम लोगों ने हमेशा एक दूसरे का सम्मान भी किया है, लेकिन पार्टी और सरकार के जो हित में था उसको हमने रखा है। और जितना भी लोग कुछ भी कहें, ये बात सच है कि हम लोग कांग्रेस पार्टी के न सिर्फ सिंबल पर जीत कर आए, लेकिन कांग्रेस पार्टी का काम कर कर हम सत्ता में आए थे और आज हमारी जवाबदेही बनती है कि हम कैसे उन वादों को पूरा करें। इसलिए मेरा आज ये जो आज हम लोगों ने अपनी बात रखी, सभी विधायकों ने रखी, हम सब मिलकर यहाँ पर आए थे। मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ सभी विधायकों का कि इन्होंने बड़े एक खुले माहौल में बेबाकी से अपनी बात को रखा, उसका संज्ञान भी पार्टी ने लिया है। और मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ प्रियंका जी का, जिन्होंने समय निकाल कर आज हम सबसे बात करी, अलग अलग सब बातों को सुना और मुझे लगता है कि बहुत जल्द समस्या का समाधान।
Looks like Sachin Pilot has said his bit, but what's interesting is that exactly 4 weeks ago Ashok Gehlot had declared that being handsome and speaking in English is not everything. Maybe that's why Mr. Pilot decided to speak today in Hindi. But Jeeval Narasimha Rao, you were planning to orchestrate a coup. ये तो reverse coup हो गया.
No, Padmaja, it was never a coup. It was never engineered by outside. And you see, he was having the dream positions in the government.
It was a coup within the BJP.
And
देखिए मिस्टर रहमानी कितने खुश हैं. मिस्टर रहमानी अचानक से एकदम खिल उठे.
No, see, it was what Mr. Pilot was holding very important positions in the Congress.
Vijay Rajesh Scindia has came out very openly against their own party.
Mr. Rahmani, just a second. You will get enough time to express your exhilaration. Let Mr. Rao answer right now.
No, so I think we have all along stated, and that's a fact. He has not quit the Congress party till now. He has not resigned from the Congress party. It was the Congress party that was trying to really dismiss or disqualify them from the state assembly. He should actually, if they come together, I don't know if they are coming together yet.
After Madhya
because he said there is a
everybody
committee.
knows the way
Can you allow me to complete 2 lines?
After your Madhya
I'm making something very important.
Mr. Srivastava, you know, you are getting so exuberant on behalf of, मतलब इसमें जिसको कहते हैं ना बेगानी शादी में वहाँ कांग्रेस की सरकार बच रही है, आप क्यों खुश हो रहे हैं सर?
On behalf of
आप केरला को देखिए ना, आप क्यों इतने खुश हैं?
बीजेपी की खरीद फरोख्त की राजनीति नहीं ये बीजेपी की खरीद फरोख्त की जो राजनीति है ये फेल हुई है।
एक सेकंड चलिए, बीजेपी तो फेल हो गए, विवेक जी आप मेरे को ये बताइए, you just tell me this, that 3 weeks ago, Mr. Rao, just a second, I just want to ask a question to Mr. Srivastava. 3 weeks ago, the same Mr. Gehlot called Sachin Pilot निकम्मा, बीजेपी की गोद में बैठा हुआ, और अब आपने बीजेपी की गोद से उठा के उनको गहलोत जी की गोद में बैठा दिया। कैसे करेंगे वो काम? वो सरकार चलाएंगे या इनको देखेंगे?
देखिए इसको एग्जैक्टली भाई वो उनकी अपनी पार्टी की अपनी राजनीति है। कम से कम बीजेपी की तरह पैसा फेंक के खरीद
पहले सारा सेलिब्रेशन कर दिया। आप जितने उनकी प्रॉब्लम्स थे और सही वो उनकी प्रॉब्लम है।
गोवा में थे, नहीं लिसन
खुशी हमारी गम उनका।
देखिए गोवा में क्या करा था इन्होंने, इनका तो इतिहास है। ये अमित शाह साहब तो पैसा फेंक करके एमएलए खरीदने में माहिर आदमी है, पीएचडी कर ली अब तो अमित, इनकी तो अलग बात है ना।
पद्मजा एक
जगह फेल हो जाते हैं, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन देश का बच जाता है, खुशी मनाने का अवसर है आपको।
हाँ जी सुनाइए जी, रहमानी साहब इतने खुश है कि वो उन्होंने शेर भी सुनाने के मूड में आ गए, बोलिए।
जीवीएल एक शेर सुनिए। उल्टी हो गई सब तदबीरें, कुछ न दवाने काम किया, देखा इस बीमारी दिल ने आखिर काम तमाम किया।
आप तो बीमारी दिल की बात कर रहे हैं, कोई गहलोत जी का भी दर्द सिर दिल सुन ले। उनसे किसी ने पूछा है whether he wants Mr. Pilot to come back or not। आपने उनकी तरफ से तो अपना दिल की खुशी इजहार कर दी। चलिए बताइए मिस्टर राव, बट ऑन अ वेरी सीरियस नोट, let's make no bones about it. If there is anyone who has emerged very strong from this entire crisis, it is Mr. Gehlot. Despite an interior rebellion, despite the fact that the Congress leadership was rudderless, the man has managed to marshal his resources and his MLAs. You will concede that. You underestimated Mr. Gehlot.
Padmaja, all along it has been an internal matter within the Congress party. We have never stated that Pilot is joining the BJP, nor did he ever make that statement. and today
that is the biggest joke.
Today also the statement I heard on your channel is he is expecting some kind of
what about Madhya Pradesh? What about Madhav's India?
दूसरों के घरों में जहाज पे क्या था आप ही हो आज आप कह रहे हैं
Why are you getting so excited? And the only government that Vivek Srivastava has, that will be done next year. Why are you getting so excited?
I think I owe an apology to Tasleem Rehman, who's been listening in very patiently. Sorry, because there was such a party going on over here, Tasleem Rehman. Everyone was just so filled with happiness that I have ignored you for the last 20 minutes. Yes, sir. Are you also happy that at least BJP has received a somewhat setback?
No, I just want to give credit to Mr. Ashok Gehlot. The kind of being Christian he was, I saw him ruthless, but at the same time he was very much confident that he will bring back everything. And Mr. Pilot back in Congress, it seems like a magic because BJP is so like back today that हमने तो कुछ कभी किया नहीं, हमने कभी कुछ अप्रोच भी नहीं किया. ये वही बात हो गई कि अमृत जल वाली बात हो गई. बीजेपी कुछ जानता ही नहीं है, वो इतने इनोसेंट है. तो ये तो चलता ही है. It's okay, but congratulations to Congress again. They're back in power.
No, are you sure you want to congratulate the Congress, or you should be congratulating Ashok Gehlot, Praful Ketkar? I think Tasleem Rehman is being too generous by congratulating the Congress because
I want to congratulate Ashok Gehlot. इतने समृद्धि से उन्होंने काम किया, इतना पेशेंस, इतना सब्र था उनके अंदर, उन्होंने गिव अप नहीं किया, एंड तक लड़ाई किया, वो भी ऐसे नेशनल पार्टी से जो खरीद फरोश का बिल्कुल काम जानते हैं.
So you might be congratulating him, but isn't what has happened, Praful Ketkar, is like putting a band-aid on cancer?
I would still congratulate Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, simply because Ashok Gehlot was her choice. And it is again shown that, some kind of bandaging is done for Mr. Rahul Gandhi and his choices. So Congress is going through a crisis, and this is not going to be this. We will have to see what this so-called 3-member committee is going to do, and whether they are going to address the long-term issues that are, actually creating problems for the Congress.
Okay. Stop the horse trading, everything will come now.
The Rajasthan crisis I see as the organizational, ideological and the leadership crisis within the Congress.
It's the perfect example in a microcosm. We have seen the battle that is going on with the larger Congress. And actually, considering that Mrs. Gandhi's term as interim president was to expire today, many would actually be heaving a sigh of relief that the interim president will continue for some more time. We're going to keep a close eye on what happens because I believe the last word on this battle hasn't been spoken just as yet. I'm going to thank all gentlemen for having joined me on debate number 1.